Hello everybody, welcome to this new online program, a series of SEJD video talks and discussions. My name is Annette and in my more than 30 years of studying, practicing and teaching shamanism, I have had a special focus and interest in the old Nordic magic traditions, and especially that of Seidr. And this online format is a new way for me to share, to pass on, to communicate everything I have gathered in these 30 years. And it's both my research in the old sources about the Seidr tradition, from mythical poems, sagas, Edda, archaeological finds, and then also being both part of and a witness to the development of the new Seidr, as I call it. This our modern approach of how can we build further on this old tradition. I have often called this kind of when we sit and talk and dive into sources and things, called it Magic University in a very modest way. And I call it university. It also counts for this series we're going to launch here in the new year, because I focus on knowledge, on a solid foundation of knowledge to support my practice and my exploration. So I'm founded in something actual, historical, as far as possible. So it's going to be more of this kind of our exchange of experiences and reading of sources, rather than your very personal experiences of the new Seidr. It's not a workshop, it's a magic university. And I call it magic because I have from the start chosen to read and interpret the sources and also the early scholarly work from a shamanic viewpoint, sort of a reading between the lines from the experiences of my magic practice. So it's the Magic University, the Magic Online Site University, and I am your senior Seidr consultant at your service. Today's topic, it's a great story, the story of Thorbjörg, Bjerk, Little Vulva, from Erik the Red's Saga. The story of Thorbjörg, Little Vulva, is a great teaching story because it introduces us to a lot of both the concepts and the different topic of the craft of Seidr that we will dive into later. And of course, what I'm going to tell you here is both influenced on all the research I've done while I've been teaching, but also the adjustments I have made from the experiences that people like you have brought into the teaching circles where I have been, had the honor to be the teacher, the senior Thorbjörgs consultant. So let us go to the Saga. We are way up north someplace. The Saga claims it's Greenland. And we are in the very late part of the 10th century. And we are in an area around a settlement that has for a while been, should we say, suffering hardships. There has been illness, the hunting luck has been very bad. And so the biggest farmer there, called Thorkil, there in the settlement, it's sort of up to him, it's his duty to invite Thorbjörg, Little Vulva, who is professional, very experienced wise woman, and fjölkunnig, meaning that she is much knowing, or it's like a in Swedish I think it's still called mångkunnig eller kundig, meaning wise in both this, that, and the other thing. And she has the habit of, especially in the winter, she will visit the different farms and homes where people invite her, especially those who want to know about their fate, their future in the coming year. So Thorkel invites her, and then the saga tells us a lot about her appearance when she arrives on that winter night, that winter evening. First we hear that she has a blue cape, woolly, set with stones, and a skin hood or hat. And some people go a lot into detail about that. I just want to say what this tells us is that Thorbjörg is wealthy. She can afford expensive, good winter clothes and jewelry. And what is of interest to us in her appearance is that she is, in her hand she had a staff. Now it didn't look like this, but I'm just using this to show you. Her staff has like a knob at the top, and then it is also ornamented or set with brass and set with stones up around the knob. And this, of course, only shows us the surface, the outside, the skin of the staff, so to speak. And what we're interested in is really the inner side, the soul, the spirit of the staff. And the staff is important to us in our work with Seiðr, because both the word Vulva has its root in one of the names for staff is Volo, and then staff, it's also called staff in Old Norse, and then it is called gand, and that's my not my favorite word, but I really like it because gand has threefold meaning in once. It means staff, and it means spirit allies, and it means your magic as such, all in one. And in our program and in our in both talks and discussions, we will really also focus on the staff as one who is like a residence or a mover of power and spirits. So that's the staff. The other thing she has with her, now where did I put it, is it says that she has a belt. We can discuss that belt later, maybe. But at the belt, she has a big leather pouch. And in that pouch, she has all her Thorbjörg, meaning it means the magic means and remedies that she uses for her art, for her professional art. Yeah. And I think, I don't know what she had in here of physical things, but we are going to focus very much also in all our talks later on the invisible or the non-physical, the spiritual things she has in here. Some of you, if you've been on some of my courses, you will know that I talk about having a lot of songs in your song bag. And this one is also full of her songs. Okay, so there she is with her staff and has arrived. And then everybody greet her, and it says the saga, as it was custom that you greeted that kind of women, meaning with respect. Thorkel leads her by his hand up to the seat that was prepared for her. It's called a há-seti, a high seat, and they had even put a cushion for her. because, I mean, she traveled far and maybe she was a little sore. And there she is. And then she was offered a meal, an evening meal. And Thorkel come and ask, now, when will we have your insights on this matter that everybody is so much longing to hear about? And she says she has to sleep in the place first, so it cannot be until the next day. So, the next day, and on in the day, I think it must be sort of in the afternoon, they start preparing the things she needs for her Seidr. Excuse me, I keep switching over into the Danish pronunciation. Anyway, she asks now for the women who knows the song called Valokur that she needs for performing the Seidr. And they ask everywhere. And there are no such women. Nobody knows the song. And I wonder what Thorbjörg was thinking to herself. It's not like in the older days. I would arrive, there would be 10 people, it would be a great singing. And then they ask again, and then finally, Gudrýr, a young woman, steps forward. And before you hear what she says, you should know that she's actually one of the main characters in the saga. And she has come and she's staying for a while, visiting Thorkel with her father Thorbjörg. Anyway, she steps forward and says, well, I am neither fjölkunnig, that means I'm neither skilled in magic nor a wise woman, but I do know this song Valokur. I learned it from my foster mother Haldis on Iceland. And Thorbjörg says, well, then you're wiser than I thought. And Gudrýr, she says, well, but the song and its way of performing, I cannot be at service with because I'm a Christian woman. Thorbjörg, she says, well, it could so happen that you could help people with singing this song, and nobody would think you a lesser woman for that reason. But from Thorkel, I demand the things I need. Okay, so you can imagine Thorkel put a certain pressure on Gudrýr, and she finally accepts. And so there is, she has the song ready, she has the staff with her. And the other preparations is to make a Seidr, the magic seed that Thorbjörg needs. And it's usually made for the occasion. And hjell means a sort of a platform, a raised seat that demands, so to say, more effort than just sitting yourself in a chair. So it could be, for example, a chair like this, a table like this, could be something that could be transformed into Seidr for this Seidr session. Now let's see what that could come to look like. Now, I want to say something about those two seats here we have in play. We have the Hárseti, the high seat, and we have the Seidr. And the thing is that in a lot of English translations, there is used the same word high seat for both these two seats, creating a lot of confusion. For example, thinking that you need to have a cushion with hen's feather in order to perform Seidr. That's not necessary. And they're very different, because this one, the high seat, is a seat of social honor. It's often been in the family for generations, like my high seat, in fact, here. And it's, should we say, it's a profane seat. It's a seat full of ego. The Seidr is often more temporarily unless if it's outside in nature, it can also be a wooden stump or a big stone or something, big rock. But here it's built for the occasion. Hjell means some kind of scaffold or platform. And now it's made so it's also a good place to seat, a seat between the worlds. This is the magic seat, and it's a sacred seat, and it has no room for ego. When Thorbjörg or anybody else climbs up on the hjell, then one is at service to both the community and to the spirits. It's the seat betwixt and between. Okay, so back to the saga. Then Guðríður, I think she's probably standing in front of Thorbjörg on the hjell, and it says that the other women are creating a circle around the seat, the hjell. And then Guðríður, she starts chanting this song, Valokur it's called, which could mean spirit calling song, a little related to the Swedish lockrop, these fantastic songs that can be heard through the valley and to the next side of the mountain to call back the animals. But in this case here, it could be the spirits. It can also mean something else. But anyway, this song has a name because it is fröði. It's a certain song. It probably also has words. And fröði means that it takes a certain amount of energy and patience to learn it. And anyway, Guðríður sings the song. And she sings it so well, as if she was a whole circle of singers. And it is, the saga says that everybody present thought they had never heard a fairer voice. And the key word here is present, because this song is enchanting everybody. It's both the song that, should we say, calls the spirits, and also brings Thorbjörg in an altered state of consciousness, where she has access to the other worlds and beings there, and her own known spirit allies. But at the same time, it also enchants everybody there who are present in that room. And there you have the root of enchantment, that it's done by chanting. Another word there is also that hun kvæder det, she quotes it, as that she is singing it. Anyway, the song works. And the funny thing is here, when you're reading the saga, all of a sudden, when it says this, that Guðríður sung the chant so well and fair that everybody there thought that they never heard anything nicer. And then, the saga skips to where Thorbjörg has concluded her whole mission and is sort of returning here to sitting with most of her soul back here on the seat and ready to pronounce, to say what she has concluded. So you must, if you can see like a page of the saga in front of you, all these lines saying this, there should be a lacuna, a whole half page missing, that's telling about what did Thorbjörg experience there on the hill. Did she, we do know that it called the spirits to her, those that she needs to see. Did she only see? Did she only be able to look through the web of life and see the hidden things? Or did she also journey out, riding, flying, meeting with her spirit allies, and maybe negotiating with the bigger, greater nature powers of altering the situation? We don't know. But that's what can happen when you sit on the seat. between the worlds. That's what we will also come back to in this series of talks. Anyway, whatever Thorbjörg has done, she is concluding it, and she is coming back. Maybe all of her soul parts almost are coming back, because she's still betwixt and between. And from this position here, she now addresses first Gudrýr and the whole group of people by chanting this. I thank you, Gudrýr, for the song. Many spirits have come here because they thought the song was so beautiful to hear. And before they turned away from us and wouldn't listen to us. But now I'm able to see what before was hidden for both me and others. Yeah. This I can say. This hardship shall last no longer than this winter. When spring comes, everything will be better. And this illness thus long has haunted you shall end before any of you expect it. What's she doing here? Is she reporting a vision? Is she reporting the altering of circumstances that the spirits and her incorporations has set in motion? In both cases, what she's doing is she is manifesting it by singing it into being. And this is in the word spår, meaning both vision, both this seeing, and spår is both seeing in future and this the present time and the past. But in any way, a spår is also saying it into being. Yeah, a lot more can be said about that. We'll wait with that later on. And after she has said this that relates to the actual task she was given by the community, she goes on while she's still sitting there. And then she addresses Gudrýr and says, "And now, Gudrýr, I will reward you for the service that you have given us, because your future is now clear to me." And then she goes on to predict that Gudrýr will have honorable marriage in Greenland, but she will go on to Iceland. And that's the whole point of the saga, in fact. And that's why Thorbjörg is arriving in the saga to predict this future for Gudrýr, that it will be of great honor because the descendants from Gudrýr will be the first bishops in Iceland. Yeah. Anyway, then she pauses Thorbjörg there. And some people who read and interpret the saga will say that she just said this. But in Norse it does say that she kveð, in meaning that there's a more power, more melody, like reciting or chanting something. It reaches your heart rather than your brain when you do it this way. Well, anyway, she has finished this part of the site that's for the community and for Gudrýr. And then afterwards, everybody, one after one, or whoever cares to, come forward and ask her personal questions about the coming year. And the saga just tersely says, not much of what she said didn't hold, or something like that. And after that, the site is over. She goes down from the hill. And then they sent after Gudrýr's father Thorbjörg, because he didn't want to be there when such heathenry was performed. And she was invited and left. She was invited to the next farm and left for that. That's the story. So this was the story about Thorbjörg's Seidr session, and let us just take a look at now of what we more could learn from it, or what is up to questioning. And first, let's just look again at the singing. So we see there are two kinds of singing operating in a Seidr of this kind of, well, this kind. And first we have the song that's both calling the spirit, changing the consciousness, and it's if it had not only been Guðrýr, but everybody singing, then nowadays people say it feels like they're sitting in a sea of songs. It's fantastic. And this singing here is what we might return to and in our further discussions, and collect and also look at the collected experiences of the last 30 years. What does it take to do a good side song? How does it sound? What does it consist of? What doesn't it consist of? But we know that it's something that they have with them in their song bag. And of course there were traditions then that are broken, and so we have to go elsewhere to find our new old wise side songs. Later on in the side, when Thorbjörg sits there and she chants into being, she sings into being what she saw and experienced, then this is what I call the vision chant. And it's not only in Seidr that we have the power of song so strongly in the whole Nordic magic tradition, but also the power of word. We're gonna look at some other sources that will tell us more about that. But what I can just say here, that these two things, the power of song, the power of word in this kind of enchanted, the enchanted, inspired poetry. There's right on the spot poetry flowing through you from your lips. It's like a nerve that's running all the way through the old Norse, both spirituality and magic tradition, and is sort of mirrored also in the Celtic bardic tradition. It's much honored skill or craft or a way of living, you could call it, because I think it's the more I've done this, I've seen that this skill has so much withered in our culture, and it's great in our shamanic work, and also if you want to do Seidr, to retrain this. And luckily, whenever we are enchanted, it becomes easier and easier. It's an easy muscle to train. Yeah. Now, I asked before, did she just look, Thorbjörg? Did she just see a vision? Or did she in fact alter things? We could say that usually I could divide magic in two like groups. And in the one, we're just sort of looking behind the surface and reading the web of life, just reading the threads, and then coming home and report about it. And the other kind, and that's all kinds of healing work, and all kinds of also altering the course of things. Then we are not only looking at the threads, but we are in the hands of our spirit guides, or letting them do it, also in fact moving the threads. And there is no doubt that it takes both more skill and most consideration and questions of ethic for this kind of magic rather than this one. Now, most scholarly work interpretations and papers done about this Thorbjörg's site in Erik the Rud's saga calls, or they agree that this is a divination site. And divination also, I should say, mean that you get a vision, but and you see things with the help of divine sources, divine beings. So we could also just call it spa. And yeah, everybody agrees just because she just says what she sees. But I can see that we do not have to alter anything of what's written in the saga and still read it as she's actually, with great beings, the help of great beings, she is healing the land. She's bringing back the game. Because she's negotiating and maybe bringing the right gifts, maybe bringing the right offerings. We don't know, that's a long story. But I'll be back to this thing of, as soon as you call something divination, then if we go back to one of the old historians of religion, Mircia Eliade, I don't know how you pronounce him, when he wrote his famous book on shamanism many years ago, he judged Seidr and that whole tradition to be a lesser kind of shamanism because they only did divination. He was not well informed on that part. But anyway, we will look at later both Seidr used for divination and Seidr for changing things. And then we will run into the big question of ethics inside. And I can, just because you've probably heard it anyway, know that scholars, researchers, and unfortunately also a lot of new performers have, should we say, settled for the idea introduced in 1935 by Dag Strömbäck that the divinatory site, should I, yeah, show them the book. Well, here we just see in this book here. This is where I realized I had to learn Swedish. That he introduced the idea that divinatory site was white site, it was honorable, it was okay, and site done for change was black site, to be avoided. And that I will not accept. But and have very good reasons for it, and we will take all the time it needs to question, to challenge that new myth about Seid. Anyway, how reliable is this story? I mean, Thorbjörgs, she's not really a person in the saga. She's just imported. She comes in from one side with the task from the author to predict Guðríð's fantastic future. Still, the same Dag Strömbäck, he maintains that even other kinds of unsureties, or what you could call it, about this story, then the author has been well initiated in the old traditions. And so his reporting of how a session of Seid can be is reliable. What Dag Strömbäck questions, among other things, is, did this take place in Greenland? He thinks that the settlements in Greenland at that point was not at all big enough to allow for a whole, should we say, class of professional Seid women. And also the researcher, the religion historian Hilda Davidson, has, in a communication we had together, also said that she felt it couldn't be in Greenland, but probably taking place in the northern part of Norway. Still, we are way up north, and they conclude that we can, for a big part, trust the, should we say, the method that's described in this saga. But that's all that we can discuss further when we meet in our Zoom circle. So thank you for now, friends. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon again.